All right, so the next stage of this process is going to be sanding down these curb rash spots. Try to get them a little smooth so that I can start applying Bondo to them. What I'm going to do that with is this Dremel here, and this is a battery operated Dremel, and I'm going to use these 120 grit sanding discs on them and just kind of run it through lightly. Just take a little bit of material off at a time and just kind of get them smooth out and get all the scratches out. All right, guys, so I've done the wheel now with the Dremel, and as you can see, I've just kind of brought it down. What I've done is just kind of got rid of the little edges around through here, made it smooth, kind of made it smooth through here. And you can see though, there's still kind of lines from the 120 grit. So this right here, let me find it. Oh, here we go. This right here, this was that scratch that was in there. Kind of just took the 120 through it. You see, I mean, it's still got kind of a roughness to it. So, and the same goes around through here. Got it sanded down, got the high parts off of it. So what I'm going to do next is, now that I'm done with the Dremel, the rest of it's just going to be kind of a manual process. I've got this 600 grit sandpaper. Usually this is for like wet sanding. I'm going to go ahead and just do some dry sanding with it right now, since I'm not really trying to do any primer thing. I just want to take the scratches out and smooth everything out a little bit more. So I'll just kind of do this by hand. I'll tear a little bit right through here, a little corner off of it, and use that to get some of these things down. This area actually right here wasn't really a scratch, but it looked like it was a previous scratch, and the previous owner of these rims tried to do touch-up paint, and it was just resin up, and I just didn't like it. So I sanded it down a little bit. I'm going to smooth it out and re-primer it, and then kind of go from there. Just treat it as if it was a scratch, because it was eventually. So then I will come back after I get done doing the 600 grit and see how it turns out, and we'll go from there. All right, so got done doing some of the sanding. This 600 grit here ended up being a little bit too fine, and I think it's just not something that's going to be working just for doing work. It might as well be a Brillo pad. So I did the other extreme, and I kind of slipped down to a 150 fine sand, which kind of looks like this, and went through and just kind of made sure I just smoothed everything out. So when I feel it, it doesn't feel like it's all bumpy, or it just feels smooth. I kind of went through all the way around there. And again, these are the worst rims that I showed you earlier. And even this, I mean, it took me about 15 minutes to do that. So this is still, it has a little bit of roughness. So you see there's some pitting in there. And that is what the body filler is going to take care of. When I do it and put some body filler, it's going to take care of the pitting, and it's going to smooth everything out. Like in here, there's this, if you look here, that's a dent. Something hit in and dented it in. So the filler is going to kind of fill in through here. And this one here, I have a sneaky suspicion that I'm going to have to do body filler on it a couple times. I'm going to put it in there first level, sand it. It's probably still going to leave a divot, and I'll have to do another second level. The stuff that I got actually dries in about 15 minutes. So I think I'm going to call this wheel done for prepping for body filler. I'll move on to the next worst wheel, and we'll kind of go from there. This is the next worst wheel, and you see it's got, if you look in here, there's some divots that are coming up from my camera focus. It's very rough. I went ahead, and there was some stuff on the edge here that I went ahead and hit. I kind of went out of order a little bit with the Dremel, but I'm going to hit all this up with the Dremel, get it all cleaned off, take some material, and then I'll hit it with the sandpaper as well. and then I'll come back with it. This is like the second worst wheel. I figured I'd start with the worst and go with like the least, and then kind of go, I mean, you know, go big or go home. Okay, so I've got the Dremel part of the sanding done on the second wheel. And kind of got through this one. I mean, it actually was worse on the first wheel because they had like on this edges, and there's still some on the edges here. They were just scraped up to where they were, you know, just sticking up and really, really rough. And all I did with the Dremel is like I put it on a real low speed, which, you know, kind of demonstrate, I'll show you. But that fast. That's it. Just kind of went through and just kind of sanded on things, and I would rub my finger around where I was sanding and just sand it a little bit till it got not completely and totally smooth, but smoother than it was before, because I'm going to actually smooth it down more, even finer, with the 150 grit hand sander, just doing the hand with my hand on this second tire as well. And I'll continue doing that as the process. So start off with a Dremel, take off of the real rough material, and then get down to doing it with a hand sander on a finer sandpaper. On this particular wheel, I did find on the side part here on this wheel there was a chip. When I went to sand it, it seemed like it's softer here on the inside of this rim than it is on like the edge on the right here on the outside. So this wheel, I said rim, it's wheel. It seems softer, so this actually came out a little bit easier. So I kind of backed off a little bit. There was another spot here that was just a chip, and I went ahead and sanded that down with the Dremel a little bit, and then I'll just do a fine sand after that. Yeah, I'll show you what it looks like after that's done. Okay, so I got the second wheel, the Dremel part and the hand sanding part done. I found a lot of areas on this one were just like rock chips, like through here. And all the rough parts are down. I just kind of sanded it smooth again. And rock chip I found right here. And then there was a couple, you see right here, there was like just small rock chips. I just went and sanded down a little bit. And I'll put some body filler on that as well. That one looks good. So I'll set this one aside and get started on the third wheel. So this is the third wheel, and this one's not so bad. I have one spot right here, and then I have another, like a curb rash right here. If you look at it, looks like it's a curb rash and someone tried to cover it up with like a or like a permanent marker or something. So this one, with it being not so bad, I think I'll just do hand sanding on it. I don't think I need to do the Dremel sanding. Doesn't really, there's like a couple rock chips right there, things like that on it. I think I'll just do a just the hand sanding on it with a 150 grit. If this one doesn't smooth out right here with the hand sanding, I'll go ahead and do a Dremel on it, but I think that's the only part. Also, I think this wheel is going to be the wheel that I'm going to start off with when I start using or applying body filler. I feel like it's going to be the one to give me the best feel for how the body filler is going to work, because it only has like minimal spots. I don't have to do all the edges, and I can kind of get a feel and know how it's going to work in less of an area. So I think I'll do it with this one. So I'll go ahead and do the hand sanding, and I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Okay, so this is the third wheel. Like I said, it's like really easy. So I didn't even bother using the Dremel at all. I just used hand sanding at 150 grit. Got that one sanded down. It's pretty smooth. It's pretty nice. And then this other spot here that was permanent markered, whatever, it's sanded down pretty nice. It's actually smoother than I thought it was going to be. It's still going to take some body filler. If you see these little areas here, body filler will fill that in and then make it all smooth on the edges. I did find a couple of rock chips, so I went ahead and sand those down with the hand sander. There's one there, And then there's one on the inside right here that I found. Let me focus that in. Okay, there. And for some reason, I don't know, on the sides here, it's so much softer than up here. And it doesn't take much. I mean, that was just hand sanding right there, and you see how much came off. So I got to be careful with that when I'm sanding with the body filler. That's something to keep in mind. But again, like I said, this one right here is probably the tire I will start with when I start on the body filler, because this will be my first time ever working with the material and doing things like this. So I think this would be the easiest one to start with, just as a learning process. And that way I'll make my mistakes on the easy part and then fine tune it for the other rougher areas. So that's going to be it for this wheel. I'm going to get the fourth and final wheel and get that one sanded down. I'll let you guys see what that one looks like in a little bit too. Okay, so this is the fourth and final wheel. If I look through here, again, this is another one that's just not so bad. There's a scratch right here. Looks like I hit a high curb or whatever it was. And then a couple of rock chips. I think on this one as well, I'm not going to go ahead and bother with using the Dremel. I'm just going to do a hand sanding with the 150 grit, and it should take care of that as well. And look for any other rock chips. I'll let you see what it looks like after that. Thanks. Okay, so I got the fourth wheel sanded down. This scratch actually kind of sanded down nice and smooth for me. Pretty nice. Same thing with this one. Found a couple other spots that I wanted to sand down. A rock chip right here. And I found another spot where it looks like the previous owner used touch-up paint to touch up a scratch. You can see, still see a little bit of it right there. But I sanded that down too to get it nice and smooth so that I can go ahead and put some body filler on it and clean it up a little bit. Yeah, it's good. So I had my original post of this video showing my intentions and showing the wheels themselves, and I had someone comment on it. Why are you doing this? I mean, these wheels are 6 years old and they're winter tires, and for some reason this Subi douche thought it warranted like 4 laughy faces. It's like, all right, well, something I've never done before, and if I'm going to do it, I'd rather do it on something that doesn't matter, because that way if I fuck this up, I'll just get another set of wheels. But if I'm successful and I make them look good, I didn't have to spend $400 or $500 for wheels, and it's something I can be proud of. So, like I said, my wheels, my car, my choice. You can watch it if you want to. If you don't want to, then whatever. Move on. So the next step of the process now that I've got all 4 wheels done, sanded, I either take this one, I think either this one or the one before. I know I said the last wheel that I would probably do the body filler on, but this one looks like it's going to be fairly simple as well. So next step is to start the body filler process, and I'll show you guys what it is I'm going to be using, and kind of go from there. So thanks a lot.